Hello, my happy crumpin' wargamers. Welcome back to our WTC recap video. Now, this is going to be the one where I'm going through our path. We, as Team Norway, were huge underdogs at the highest skill tournament in the entire world, and we upset some people, and it was exceptionally awesome, and I'm blessed to have been a part of that group. So I'll be going through the whole total WTC experience, like what it was like, who we were playing against, how did certain matchups go, what our game plan was. This will be a slightly longer video, but it's going to be really impactful. And then later in the week, I know Mr. John Lennon himself has agreed to come on the channel, and we're going to kind of do a dual little retrospective, and we'll talk there. So anyway, this is the highest skill level 40K tournament in the world. What did we do? Well, first off, let's talk about what the WTC was. Well, the WTC, there were 288 players and a lot of support staff. So like our team, for example, we had 8 players, 3 coaches, and then actually my wife was there. I kind of convinced her to come along, and she's a chiropractor, and so she was kind of like the team doc because people were getting injured. So we were really grateful to have her there. There were 36 teams, 2 United Nations teams, which were kind of made up of mercenaries from an amalgamation of countries. Every single faction except for Votan was represented. We had 5 women at the WTC. It was pretty exciting. I think there were 2 women. There were 2 women who were playing, and then everyone else was just kind of there. But we're getting diversity in Warhammer. It was a really big jump. And it was just a truly absolutely amazing experience. We had a total blast. As you can tell, my voice is still a little bit gone. I got to be honest with you guys. This thing was so exhausting. It's, as I'm recording this, it's the Wednesday after the WTC. I'm still tired. At least my voice is starting to come back a little bit. So, but it was, if you guys ever have the opportunity to go to the WTC, you 100% need to make it because it was freaking amazing. I get to see a bunch of the legends on YouTube. I got to meet a bunch of people who you've never heard of who are unbelievably amazing players. We shared drinks, we shared laughs, we shared our triumphs and our sorrows. This was truly amazing. Off of every single team, basically what you could expect was you would expect that you're playing the 8 best players in that country. Occasionally, maybe one person was sick here or there, but you were essentially guaranteed to be playing at least 8 of the top 10 players in every single country, and that was it was nerve-wracking, man. It really was, and it was pretty awesome. So how did this work? So basically, we found out ahead of time that what our first 3 matches were. So what they did is the WTC staff divided everyone into pods. Which was a group of 4 people, a group of 4 teams, and you had to play everyone in your pod, and that was your first 3 games. So we knew ahead of time who our first 3 games were, what mission we were playing them on, and we knew what their lists were. So we were able to especially prepare for those 3 teams. And then after that, it went into winners brackets. So the winning is most teams played winning most teams, and vice versa. So let's take a look at our pod phase. So this is our pod phase. We were in pod number 1, and this is a pod that we were actually very pleased with. We were playing against Croatia, we were playing against Ireland, and Canada. So in our pod, Croatia was the 4th seed, meaning they were estimated to perform the worst. Then we were the 3rd seed, which means that we were estimated to perform the 2nd worst, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. Ireland and then Canada. Canada was the top seed, and I think Canada was number 9 last year, so they were really good, and people were quite nervous to go into Canada. But as you'll see, maybe we shouldn't have been. So that was the pod phase. And the way this works is on the Thursday night, we played Team Ireland. And then after that, we would play Canada and Croatia on Friday. Saturday, we would play the next 2 teams. And Sunday, we would play the next 2 teams. So how does pairings go? How do you figure out which army plays which army? Because the teams are divided into 8 people. Each one has a unique faction. And factions can only be represented once. So, for example, I brought Custodes and I had Imperial agents in there, which meant no one else could have Imperial agents. So our team composition was pretty dang cool. We brought Custodes, we brought Demons, we brought Thousand Suns, we brought Chaos Knights, GSC, Eldar, and Deathwatch. And there's one other that I missed there, but we'll go over it in just a moment anyway. So let's look at the pairings process. So basically at the beginning of each individual game, you would have pairings. So there was a 30-minute process of deciding who would play against who. So if we're looking at this board starting from left to right, you can see that there was the Adeptus Custodes versus across the table from the Astartes, which would have been Deathwatch in this match. I believe this was going to be maybe our Finland match that we took pictures of. I don't really remember for sure, but so basically what would happen is each team would put down one defender. So let's say we are actually the bottom, and our enemies would have been the top list here. So let's say they put down Adeptus Custodes, and we put down I don't know, someone, and we would put down the Gene Stealer cults. Well, what would happen is that we would then attack with our Death Watch, which is our Adeptus Astartes, and maybe Custodes, for example. So then they would choose which one of our attackers they want to play against. So they put down a defender, we give them 2 attackers, they choose which one their defender plays against. And then you go so on and so forth until everything's filtered out. And it was really interesting. It was a meta game within the game, because one of the things that we realized is that after the pairings process, 70% of the match was essentially done. And then you just had to have the skill to make sure that the matchups played out the way that you wanted them to play out. Easier said than done, but it was pretty freaking awesome. So that's how the pairings worked. And after the pairings, you would start the game. And just because of the way that the pairings worked, sometimes you would get done early. And we tended to have a little bit more time in game than we're used to in tournaments. Sometimes we'd have as much as like an hour, 45 minutes each to play. And that was it was a little bit different. So our first matchup, we played Ireland. All right, we actually had this estimated as a win. We did actually have a little disaster that struck, and the match ended up as a draw. This was a freaking awesome game. We had a total blast. Loved every second of it. Pierce, who was my opponent, I believe he was captain of Ireland last year. I don't know if he was this year. But anyway, he was a freaking legend. I had a blast playing against him. And so this is the way that we had all of our matchups up. So we had our Eldar versus their Chaos Knights, and it was a pretty rough game for them. I know we did quite good on that one. Then we had our Death Watch, and they were playing against their Custodes, and actually that was a pretty rough game for us. We actually had that estimated as a 10, and we ended up only with 3 points out of 17. And for those of you who don't know, for WT scoring, it's on a differential. So for every 5 points differential, you got 1 point. So essentially, if you had 100 to 50, it would be 20 to 0, meaning your army would get 20 points for the match and your opponent would get 0 points for the match. So that's the way that we would rate this. So this was a 3-17. That was a little bit of a loss for us, but there were some crazy things that happened in that game. And then we had our GSC, and this was actually the big upset. So it was a 2-8 to Ireland's 18 when they were playing Chaos Space Marines. This was a crazy upset. I don't think there's anything that our GSC player could have done to change this. Basically what happened is on his drop turn, he didn't kill anything. He dropped his entire army and killed, I think if I remember correctly, it was 1 Obliterator and 3 Terminators with an entire GSC army going into it. And it's like, well, I mean, sometimes dice happen. And I wasn't able to watch that game because I was playing my game. But that was a huge upset, and that actually earned Ireland the draw. Well, at least the combination of those two matches earned Ireland the draw, because we had that rated as a 20-0, meaning the GSU was just going to score maximum points and not let the Chaos Space Marines score any points. Then after that, our Demons went into Eldar, and our Demons scored 3 points to the Eldar 17, and actually we were very happy with that. That was another really interesting thing that goes on with teams. Sometimes losing is expected, and it's fine, because your goal is to score 1 point. So the fact that our Demons got 3 points from the Eldar, actually we were pretty dang happy with that. Because we kind of expected it to be like a 20-0, which is an interesting thing about the way that you play teams, and that was pretty cool. Then we had Custodes into Deathwatch. This was my match against Pierce, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the video of my match against Pierce. It's just a review before the game and post game, so you can see like how much we were sweating and how crazy intense a game this was. I performed. I was really pleased with the way that I performed until the very end. So basically, what happened is I tanked Pierce's drop turn, and he didn't deal any of the damage he expected to deal. And so the entire game, up until turn 5, we knew, both Pierce and I knew, that I scored 20 points and he scored 0. Like, that was it. We were like, okay, this is a 20-0, you have no chance. And then in turn 5, what did Pierce do? He kept his freaking head because I made a mistake. I was like, oh, I have this. I don't really need to pay that much attention. And I made a mistake. And then he pounced. And his pounce in turn 5 actually got him 16 points, which if you're paying attention to like the way the differential works, that would be 30 points in a normal game. So essentially he went from 50 all the way up to 80 points to my 100 or so. just in turn 5 because he saw a mistake that I made and he pounced. That is the quality of player that we're talking about, the WTC, and he did an absolutely amazing job. So I thought I had the 20-0. I made one little error, and he just freaking pounced upon it and got his team a huge a boost in points. It was still a win to me, but it was a much smaller win than what it was going to be because he did a great freaking job. Well done, Pierce. Then our Thousand Sons, they won 11-9 to Imperial Knights, which I think we were comfortable with. Then our Chaos Knights won 17-3 against their Necrons, which we were very happy with. And then finally, our Necrons scored 8 points to 12 against their GSC, which we were also happy with. So the final score was going to be 78-82. It was a draw. Draw with an edge to Ireland. So we were a little miffed, I think is the correct word, because we had some matchups that just did not go the way that we were expecting them to. But overall, we are extremely excited because we know Ireland are really good players. We think that our armies actually matched up well into theirs, but they ended up pulling out the win. So that was a good freaking job to them. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and move the video of how we played against Ireland and we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Grats and Gits. We got Mr. Pierce from Team Ireland here, and we got a Crumpin coming our way. We actually have an Imperial Mirror. He's running the Death Watch, and I'm running the Adeptus Custodes. I'm just going to show you the board state real fast, and then we're going to get going. So if we look right here, I've got my Exaction, I got my Termies here, Blade Champ Squad, Eversor, Trajan Squad, and my Inquisitorial Henchmen. I've got one unit in Deep Strike, and then all the way over here, we have Pierce's Fortress of Death and Mayhem. Look at that face. Oh my gosh. He's got his gladiators. He's getting ready to shoot me to fucking pieces. So this is going to be a hammer and anvil deployment. It's supply drop, so we're going to roll Alpha Omega. And honestly, we'll be back at the end of the game, and we'll have a great update for you. All right, everybody.
First 40K I ever played.
Pierce, how'd it go?
That was one of the toughest games of 40K I ever played. He had me on the ropes. One small mistake, and he let me back into the game, but I was looking at like a 0 for a while there. 0, but fucking phenomenal game, my man.
Dude, that was awesome. So it ended up 14 to me, 6 to Pierce, but actually Pierce probably just made the draw for his team by capitalizing. He did an awesome player. Let me show you the state of the board. Basically, all my army's dead except for a big squad of Terminators, but I gave away my 15 primary at the end, and Pierce was awesome, and he capitalized upon it. He's got a lot left, but we did take the win for the Custodes here, so we'll be back with the final scores of the round. Pierce, great game, brother.
Excellent game, my man. Excellent game.
Hell yeah.
Excellent game.
Sorry, that was an awkward high five. All right, yeah, so Pierce was an amazing guy. We really enjoyed having him on. And then we move on to Team Canada. All right, guys, this was a barn burner. This is the one that we were really nervous for. This is the one that other people were kind of expecting to be like a walkover. I know Canada themselves, all the players on them were really cool guys. It was fun to get to meet Scary out there. He was playing Necrons and did a great job. It was fun to meet all those guys. Francois, Chris, everyone. They were all super cool people. And if you go watch War Games live, because this is the time that we were on live stream against Canada. They did an interview with one of our coaches with one of their coaches, and it was pretty dang funny. So all the Canadian coaches, they were out there and they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're super excited to play against Norway. You know, we respect all our opponents. It's going to be a hard match. Let's see how it goes." And our coach went on there and said, "Yeah, we think that they're underestimating us severely, and we're looking to show them an upset." And Canada, and those guys are as nice as the stereotype sounds, by the way. They were like, "Of course, we're not underestimating you." And then at the end of the round, they did a post interview, and the coaches were like, "We completely underestimated Norway, and we were really nervous." It was pretty funny during the rounds. Players are not allowed to talk to each other, but coaches can talk to players, and they can't say anything about how to play the game. But it's kind of weird. They can't give any details or any advice, but they can look at the player and say, "Hey, you need to push for more points," or they can say, "Hey, play safe. We're comfortable." And that can give us an idea of whether we need to take risk or if it's okay if we're losing. So they can do that. And when you looked at Canada's coaches during this round, they were walking around. They were beat red. They were sweating. They were like, "Get more points. Get more points." It was awesome. They were so we really took it to them. But it did end up in a draw. Really thought we had them for a moment, but it's not a unexpected thing to see that we drew them. We basically had planned on drawing Canada, and we were hoping to win. But as far as I think the world was concerned, this was a huge upset. Norway if we were the same team we were last year, we probably should have just gotten annihilated by Canada, because Canada was a great team, great players. So we're really happy. So just go through this metrics real fast. The first round was my Custodes into their Custodes. I played against Chris, who was their captain, and he was a freaking awesome guy. Really, really enjoyed playing him. And it was funny because we sat down at the table, we shook hands, and we said, okay, so this is a 10-10, meaning a draw. And we kind of agreed, like, yeah, it's a 10-10. And then we proceeded to play a 3-hour-long game where at the end we were both sweating. And it was a very intense game to get that 10-10 draw. I think I've never had that many models left alive. I think I had 1,600 points of models left on the board, and Chris had about 1,500 points of models left on the board. So it was a little bit wild. The whole game was about positioning, but it was a 10-10. Then we had our 1,000 Suns into their Eldar. This was a little bit of an upset for us. Our 1,000 Suns getting 0 points into Eldar, that kind of hurt. I know I don't really remember what it was, but there was a problem here. I think what happened is our 1,000 Suns player happened to use the stratagem that allows you to get full rerolls to hit and wound. He used it in melee, and it was an accident. I mean, it was things happen, guys. This is a complicated game. No one blames him for it, but because of that, they had to go back and take some points off. So it ended up being 20 points to Eldar, and that hurt. But like, in all reality, it was a super easy mistake to make. When you read the stratagem, it does say in shooting only, and we just read it wrong. It's no big deal. So then we looked at our Necrons. Our Necrons won 17-3 into Canada's Orcs, which is what we expected. It is not what Canada expected. Canada expected that to be a 15-5, if I remember correctly. And then our GSC won 13-7 against their 1,000 Suns. And I think that was a little bit underperformance. I think we had that rated as a 15, but we're happy with it. Our Chaos Knights won 15-5 against their Chaos Space Marines. We're very pleased with that. That was a great one. Our Eldar won 13-7 into their Marines, which I believe was Death Watch. And so we're very, very pleased with that. And then our Demons lost 0-20 to GSC, which, we didn't want that. But in all reality, it's basically what would have happened. Our Demon player played a very good tournament, but he got thrown under the bus in essentially every single matchup. And that basically means we gave him the matchup that no one was going to want, and we just told him, hey, try to score something. We knew he wasn't going to win because we basically always gave him GSC or Eldar, which are clearly the best two armies. So we're really proud of him, and we appreciate him doing that. That's why you see those scores. It has nothing to do with his player skill. We just gave him the worst possible matchups all weekend. And then finally, it was our Death Watch versus their Necrons for a 7-13. And that was Gorm playing against Skari. And so I think Skari surprised Gorm with the way he piloted the Necrons. And he really, really took it there. So that was a draw, and we are all super, super happy. So it's kind of hard to be upset by that. I think I'm going to clip just so you guys can see how the game started and how the game ended for the Custodes, and then we'll be back with our next round. Hey everybody, I'm here with Chris, captain of Team Canada. Well done, my man. So we just had the mirror match, Custodes versus Custodes, and it went 10-10 as we basically all predicted. But we did sweat a lot. There was a lot of back and forth. It was a pretty awesome freaking game.
A lot of fun.
And, dude, thanks so much for the game. I really appreciate that.
It was awesome.
This was on the Ritual, which is the draw mission. We are now just kind of waiting to find out how it went for the entire matchup. Let me show you the end of the board state. This is actually kind of hilarious because Custodes versus Custodes, basically nothing dies. I think Chris lost 500 points, and I lost right out 500 points.
Yeah, I think I lost a little bit more than you, but that's because I went first. And so I scored big earlier that you kind of countered and pushed it in my lines. But so I think the one that goes second kills a bit more. But yeah, I lost one unit and a couple trap units. Yeah.
Dude, it was awesome. It was a great game. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Good luck.
All right, guys, we'll catch up when we find out the results. Okay, so that was Team Canada. They were awesome. Chris, the captain, was a great guy. Really appreciated him. Then we go into the next matchup. So this is actually going to be against Team Croatia. Croatia's been to the WTC a whole bunch of times, but this is one of their newer teams they've brought. So I know there were some people who were really brave on that team. Like, honestly, I think only their demon player, I think it was his 4th game of Warhammer. So, they were brave. We appreciate them showing up, and they were really, really great sports. So we loved playing against them. But it was kind of a massacre. But they were all awesome guys, and we super, super loved getting to drop across the table from them. So the first matchup, our GSC won 20-0 against their Imperial Guard, which was pretty expected. Our Demons went 5-15 against their Eldar, which honestly we were very pleased with. Our Chaos Knights went 2-18 against their GSC. I believe their GSC player was actually Polish and one of the better players in the world. That was a little unexpected, but that's okay. Then our Thousand Suns went 20-0 to their Chaos Space Marines. Deathwatch was 19-1 to Demons. Custodes, I went 14-6 into their Custodes. Eldar was 18-2 into Chaos Knights, and then our Necrons won 11-9 into their Marines, which I believe were Deathwatch. It might have actually been Dark Angels. I don't remember at this juncture. But anyway, so this was a matchup where we won in pairings. We got all the pairings we wanted, and things just kind of went the way that we expected them to go. But my opponent, his name was Joro, and he was a freaking awesome guy. I really appreciated the game that he gave me. So we went back and forth. He brought a MSU Custodes, and he may have changed my mind a little bit because you guys know that I'm not a MSU fan for Custodes. I am give me my bricks, no Caladiuses because they're garbage. But so I'm not really much of an MSU guy. But he actually showed me that you can pilot them pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in the video of our game, and then we'll be back with the next matchup.
All right, my happy Crumpin' Wargamers. I'm here with Jorah, and what are we doing?
Playing Warhammer.
We're playing Warhammer, baby. This is going to be another Custodes mirror match. Joro is going MSU. He's got a bunch of 4-man squads running around, and I've got my big blocks of death. So we'll just show you the engagement right here. This is all Joro's forces, and my forces are all the way on the other side. And we're really excited to get Crumpin'. This is going to be hidden supplies, boom, boom. And then this is going to be purge the enemy, so we have to kill more and hold more. All right, we'll be back, and we'll show you the results. Bye-bye. Okay, at the end of the game, Mr. Joro here. What was the score?
16-4.
It was 14-6.
14-6.
Good game, brother.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. So this is awesome. This is Custodes on Custodes action. Mr. Joro here might have convinced me that MSU Custodes are actually good at Joro. I'm very sorry. Mr. Joro here got me convinced that MSU Custodes might actually be pretty dang good. End of the board state, I did have him tabled. I think he had 1 unit left, but it was a great game. He was an awesome opponent. And this is Croatia's first time here at the WTC, right?
No, 10th time.
Oh, this is your 10th time. Okay. So they're veterans, and I'm really, really blessed and appreciate being able to play with him. He was a great competitor. And, yeah. So I think this round does go to a win for our team for Norway. So I think we're going to end the pod phase.
Then you're first in pod. It's very dangerous.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you fucked up the big boys.
So we got, because we drew against Ireland and Canada. So with this win, we'll see. We might have won our pod, which could be very dangerous.
And now for you, only killers.
Only killers. So we'll see how it goes. But I'll catch up with you when we get the final results. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so then that was Mr. Joro, and once again, really, really appreciate those guys. We did not end up winning our pod. Actually, Canada won our pod, and we got second. Still a massive improvement, and we're very, very pleased with it. Because Canada ended up beating Ireland in their match. We were thinking if they had a draw, it'd be weird, but they ended up winning. So then we went into Belgium on day number 3. This is the first game of day number 3, and it was a firefight. This was a massacre. We got stomped, completely slapped. Basically, these guys made us feel just inferior as men. All right, Belgium, first off, they were all really cool. Super nice guys. I actually loved my opponent. He was a great guy. He 20-0'd me. Man, I can't remember the last time I was 20-0'd, but he 20-0'd me. It was the only loss I took personally at the WTC, and he definitely bought me some whiskey-infused beer afterwards to help mend my wounds. Basically, what they did here is they outpaired us. They did a fantastic job of figuring out how to trap us into accepting certain matchups that we probably shouldn't have accepted. So our first match was we had Demons, and they went into Belgium's GSC. And this is actually wrong. I think we made a little bit of an error here because our Demons actually ended up drawing against GSC on this match, which was a little strange. But he did a great job. I'm really, really, really proud of him. Actually, our Demon's drawing here was better than 4 of us put together. So we got beat so bad. Deathwatch scored 1 point against the 19 for the Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, guys, sorry. Forgive the matrices here. They are a little bit wrong. No, I'm sorry. Deathwatch scored 0 points in that matchup. Yeah, some of these are a little bit wrong, but I'll just point out the ones that they were. So Demons was actually a draw. Deathwatch was a 0. Necrons was an 11 into their Necrons. So way to go, Shetzel. That's because Shetzel's amazing. Custodes, me. I scored 0 points into the 20 points against Chaos Knights. Or, I mean Imperial Knights, not Chaos Knights. Basically, the way that game went is he went turn 1. I couldn't hide one of my squads. And he basically just deleted Trajan Valoris' unit. Playing this matchup again, that was stupid. I should have just strat reserved Trajan Valoris' unit. So it was my fault. It wasn't that... I mean, yeah, dice happened, but the dice weren't the story there. I was stupid. When I saw that I couldn't hide the unit, I should have just strat reserved them. Or I should have put them in deep strike. And so that was my error as a player. And of course, the dice didn't help me. But if you're relying on dice to bail you out, then it's because you messed up. And I definitely messed up here. So he took advantage of it, and he just annihilated me. And then it was our GSC who got 6 points into their Custodians who took 14. That was a very strange matchup. But once again, like we just got stomped across the board in this matchup. Our Thousand Sons got 1 point into their Thousand Sons. Our Eldar scored 2 points into their Eldar, and our Chaos Knights got 7 points into their Deathwatch. So basically, these guys beat us like a wet noodle. And then bought us beer to make us feel better afterwards. They were really cool guys. I really enjoyed my opponent. His name was Vidar. Well, he went by Vidar, but I can't pronounce his real name because I just can't pronounce it. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that video in, and then we'll be back with the next matchup. All right, cheers, guys.
Hey everyone, I'm here with Vidar, who just kicked my ass. This is round 4 of the WTC. Well, this was Custodes for me, and Vidar's running the Imperial Knights. I knew this was a loss going in. We were just trying to take points away, and then I didn't. This is one of the most crushing defeats I've ever had, but he was an awesome opponent. Really, really appreciate him. It was a 20-0. I think the final was, what, 93-28?
Yep.
93-28. Brutal. Bottom of round 3, I had 1 Blade Champion alive, and everything else was dead. So, yeah, that was awesome. But Vidar was great. We're going to go to the bar real fast. Let me just show you the board state. He's got some awesome-looking models. Kind of want to show you this guy painted super beautifully. He's got some awesome wardens here. Check this guy out. So great opponent. I don't know how the rest of the round is going, but we'll find out and we'll update you. Cheers.
Okay, so then what we do is move on into Finland. This is the only other Scandinavian country we got to play against, and this was actually a huge upset. So Finland was projected just to annihilate us, and once again we got another draw. So this was really, really exciting. So let me kind of run through how this went down. So our Deathwatch looks like we got a 2 into 18. So our Deathwatch played into their Custodes. That really should not happen unless something crazy happens. So there was a report of like dice just got messed up in that matchup, but I don't know. So then we had our Chaos Knights went 16-4 into the Guard, Imperial Guard, because Chaos Knights are just freaking great. Thousand Sons went 5-15 into Necrons. That was a little bit of an upset. We had that, I think, as a 15 to us. So I think their Necron player just kind of outplayed our Thousand Sons player a little bit, and sometimes that happens. Then our Custodes, me, I went 16-4 into Deathwatch. Now, this was really, really fascinating. This was one of the most crazy, swingy matches I think I've ever played. So round 1, he goes first, and he obviously Oath of Moments Trajan squad, because he has to choose either my Trajan brick, my Blade Champion brick, or he has to choose my big Terminator brick. So I started all 3 of those on the board just to force him to choose one. I didn't want him splitting shots. I wanted him to get 1 unit. And so he chose Trajan squad. And he obliterated it. He had 20 Desolation Marines, because he had 1 brick of 10 and then 2 of 5. And I had 2 Custodians left in that unit. Remember, it was a 10-man. And one of them had a single wound left. And at that point, I was like, holy crap. He just did so much damage without even seeing me. How am I ever going to be able to play this match? And he was feeling real good about himself. And he was a great opponent, by the way. Then, in my turn 1, what did I do? Well, basically what happened is I made every single charge that I needed to make. And it was luck, and it probably shouldn't have happened, but I made every single charge. So I picked up my big 5-man brick of Terminators, I teleported them into the corner, and they made a 10-inch charge to wipe a unit of Kill Team. My Blade Champion squad, they rolled a 6-inch on their advance, and then they made a 9-inch charge to kill his land speeder and get into the middle of the board, or sorry, on the corner of the board. My Eversor Assassin made a charge and wiped a Infiltrator unit. Then my Trajan squad, I resurrected one Custodian. And when you resurrect a Custodian, this is a really powerful trick, guys. Because when you resurrect a Custodian, you resurrect them within 2 inches to be within coherency. But then the base itself is like a 40 millimeter, which gets you almost 3.5 inches of free movement. So I resurrected one Custodian. So then I think the 2 Custodians who were left at this point in Trajan made a 7-inch charge to claim an objective and kill another Infiltrator squad of his, which swung the match crazy into my side. This was one of the most wild matches. My Eversor Assassin ended up scoring me 39 points by himself. A lot of people were really confused why I brought the Eversor Assassin, because the Calidus is like the one that everyone wants. But man, the Eversor is just so freaking powerful. And I'm dropping a video probably later today as well that's actually just going through my Custodes WTC list. And I think it went really well. I lost one match, and then I had 4 wins and 2 draws. So that's not a bad record at the WTC when you're only playing against the best players in the world. So I'm going to go in depth on the way I had it structured. But yeah, my Eversor by himself scored 39 victory points in this game. It was freaking awesome. He wiped Desolation Marines. He killed a Whirlwind by himself. He killed Infiltrators. He scored me capturing any outpost. He scored Tempting Target. He's just a total nightmare for my opponent. But yeah, so that was the matchup we had there. And then we look at our demons. We got 5-15 into their orcs. Finland had a really good orcs list, if I remember correctly. So that's pretty much as expected. Our GSC went 9-11 to their Eldar. So a slight loss. We had that projected as a win, but that's within the realms of what we were expecting. Necrons went 9-11 into their GSC. That's great. We're super happy with that. And then our Eldar went 17-3 into their demons. So this was another team draw, 79 points to us to 81 points to Team Finland. This was a massive upset. Finland was projected to stomp on us, and this was really, really cool. It was one of the swingier matches that I've played. After round 1, I was still recovering from the abuse that Belgium put me in. I figured, oh crap, here we go. I'm getting 20-0'd again. But I played it really, really well. I made all the correct decisions, and I took it to actually quite a strong win with a 16-4. So really proud of myself. I'm going to go ahead and put the video up against Pertu, who was my opponent. And he was a great guy. Really, really appreciated him. And then we'll be on into the next matchup.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Pertu. We're in round 5 of the WTC. He's playing Team Finland, and of course I'm Team Norway, who speaks the most nonsense language. Anyway, this is going to be a great match. He's Deathwatch against my Custodes. I'm terrified. He has one of those land speeder hail strikes to add the extra AP. So we're going to see what happens. He just rolled. He's going to go first, but let me show you the board state real quick. He has a full castle right here of pure death, 20 Desolation Marines, 2 big kill teams, Infiltrators up the board, Whirlwinds, things I'm terrified of and hate. And then I have my Eversor in position, and all of my guys are right over here, ready to rock and roll. Pertu, let's have a great game, brother. Cheers. All right, I'm just gonna pronounce it right. All right, everyone. Pertu and I are back at the end of round 5 against Finland. It was a win for the Custodes. We went 16-4. It was a devastating first turn when Pertu just basically killed my entire Trajan squad. And then I was blessed in turn 1 when I made every possible charge. It was a wildly swingy game. We were worried, we were concerned, we laughed, we cried, we hugged, we shared our wisdom. Look at the board state. He's got a legendary squad here that scored him like 50,000 points. And then this, and basically my Blade Champ squad, my first game ever where they didn't lose a single model. And then I got all my Terminators in the corner. My Eversor was a total legend in this game. Pertu, this was freaking awesome. Do you have any thoughts about this game?
Yeah, really good game. Your first turn when you did all the charges, I was really depressed. It looked like I'm gonna get run over totally, but couple of good swings, capturing your side of the table really helped, and could close some more points from me.
You rallied like crazy, and this is a great lesson for everybody, right? I wanted to give up after round 1 because he just wiped like 500 points. And then he wanted to give up after round one because I wiped like 700 points. And then at the end, like he actually ended up giving his team a lot more points than he would have had he actually collapsed mentally. So stay strong. We'll be back later when we have the total points calculations. But bro, thanks for the game, mate.
Thanks again.
Be good, Holmes.
Okay, so that was Perttu from Team Finland, and the guy was awesome. We had a blast playing. Really enjoyed him. So moving on to the last two matches of the weekend, we're kind of in the upset bracket, right? So this is Team South Africa. It was their very first WTC ever, and they flew from a really far distance, and they performed wonderfully. Everyone was stunned with how well they did. They were not one of the bottom teams. They did absolutely amazing, and so these last few matches that we had, it was going to be South Africa and New Zealand. This was also New Zealand's first WTC, and they also performed exceptionally well. So everyone was really, really stunned by how well they did. We, as Team Norway, this was our second WTC. We had been at the ETC a few times, like many, many years ago, but this is out of everyone on our team, the most veteran person was there last year, and we did awful. So this year, though, we did way, way better than anyone expected. So this is the upset bracket. Okay, so let's get into some of the match pairings here. Now, a quick little thing is kind of like how I said Team Belgium, their teams just paired really well into ours. We kind of did the same thing to South Africa here. So South Africa, while they had some really good lists and they actually had great players, their list did not match well into our list. So we did have an advantage going into this, and we did end up taking the win. So let me just talk about some of the ones that were a little interesting to me. So their orc list, which, because you guys know I freaking love orcs, which, by the way, I'm Team Green again, officially as of today. So their orcs list was really interesting. They were running 2 blobs of 20 beast snagas inside 2 battle wagons. And if you've watched my tactical tier list or any of our videos where we talk about it, I don't think those are good. However, the way they played at the WTC, it was really, really cool because it was made to do a very specific job, and they did it really, really well. So they had some interesting different lists here. The Necrons list that I played into, it was probably the best possible list type of Necrons list for me personally to play into, so they got a terrible matchup. But the list itself was actually disgusting into a lot of different armies. It was kind of rough into me when he didn't have any models that could kill my army. Because he was taking the Edmetic destroyers, so like the 36 shots exploding sustained hit shots destroyers instead of the heavy destroyers or the Doomsday Arcs. So against other armies, it's amazing. Against me, it's a little bit less amazing. So yeah, let's go through these matchups now. Our Chaos Knights got 14-6 against their Thousand Suns. That's basically expected. So pretty much every time we've run the Chaos Knights Thousand Suns matchup, Chaos Knights win. Then we have Thousand Suns. They went into Demons, and they went with a 19-1 win, which was very, very nice to see. Our Custodes, me, I scored 16 to their 4 points as Necrons. The story of that was he was pretty smart because he knew that he was going to have a hard time killing my models. So what he did is he made me kind of commit my Trajan Valoris squad to the far corner, and he hammer and anviled me. So he shot me, killed 1 Custodian, and then he wedged me between 2 Lich Guard squads. And he's like, okay, cool, we're going to kill some things. And I had told him, and so he knew that Trajan squad was going to fight first and that they're dangerous, but I don't think he realized how dangerous it was. So, I had 2 CP, so instead of using Trajan Valoris' free fight first ability, I spent for the fight first so that I could double Trajan's attacks, right? Give him the 12 attacks instead of the 6 attacks. That was 100% the correct decision because I think I rolled like 3 6s, so I ended up with 15 hits, 15 wounds, because I was wounding on 2, and I got to reroll 1s to wounds since he was part of Guardian Squad. That killed the Crypto Thralls, and it killed like 6 warriors or 6 Lich Guard by himself, or maybe 4 Lich Guard by himself. And then the rest of the squad killed the rest of that unit. So they just deleted one of the units of Lich Guard with the characters, and that was pretty awesome. So it tied his army up really, really badly. And when that happened, I was able to claim the rest of the board. Now, I never did kill the second Lich Guard squad because it was just kind of stuck up there. They eventually ended up killing Trajan's unit. But it was okay because I had enough time to control the rest of the board and score the points. So I played against Kyle, and Kyle was freaking awesome. And actually, let me show you here because Kyle was so sweet. He actually gifted me one of their team jerseys. And let me show you how cool this team jersey is. I love the color scheme. I think it's great. I don't know if you can see on the camera. I'll try to fix it in editing. Called the Best Kyle because Kyle was the best. He was sick. So I really appreciate the jersey, man. It was super awesome to get to play against you. I really, really appreciated it. But yeah, just for the rest of our matchups, our Eldar lost. It was 4-16 into their GSC, which is fair. Our Demons got 4-16 against their Eldar. Once again, guys, we bust our Demons player. I'm so grateful that he was such a good sport because that would have been brutal to have to take the worst matchups every game. Then our GSC went 10-10 into the Imperial Knights. Our Deathwatch won 14-6 into their Ultramarines, and our Necrons went 10-10 into their Orcs, which was actually quite good because I was a little bit concerned about that Orc list going into Necrons. So, yeah, they did great. Overall, a big win for Team Norway, so this was our second win, and we're really, really, really pleased with it. So I'm going to go ahead and upload the video of my match with Kyle, and then we'll be back with our final match review, and then we'll do some closing thoughts on the WTC. All right, guys.
All right, everybody. I'm here with Kyle from South Africa.
How's it, guys?
Oh, what was that?
How's it? It's like,
Oh, how's it? Got it. Yeah.
It's
Sorry.
like, how are you? It's like, how's it?
So we are here. We're playing in round 6 of the WTC. This is Kyle's first time at the WTC. It's my first time at the WTC, and we're fucking thrilled to be here. That was not the correct word for YouTube. Anyway, it's going to be Necrons versus the Custodes. We're sweeping engagement, and this is priority target. So hold 10 and score like a maximum at the end of the game in addition. And this is going to be a burn burner. Kyle is going first. Let me go and show you the state of the board. He's all the way over here. And then me, I'm just along the line. So honestly, it kind of looks like we're going to play Rock'em Sock'em Robots here. And we're going to see how it goes. All right, we'll catch up at the end of the game.
Cheers.
And we're done. That was the end of round number 6. Kyle here, you were a trooper, my man. Yeah. It was a pretty good win for the Custodes. It was 16-4 finally. The total score was 96-62.
Yep.
Basically, Trajan fought first and wiped the Lich Guard squad, and things were going downhill from there. But Kyle actually played really well. He ended up squeaking out some points for his team. Yep. So I actually ended up never killing one of the Lich Guard squads, and his command barge survived.
Yep.
My army was pretty good at the end, so that was a really fun game. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, man.
This was South Africa's first WTC. You guys were crushing it. You got one more round to go. And,
and hopefully it's you guys, we meet up again, chat to each other soon, and we keep in touch.
Hell yeah, baby. So thank you, my happy crumpers, and we'll be back when we get like final scores and stuff like that. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, everyone, so we're closing in on it. This is the last round of the WTC, so this was round number 7 at the end of Sunday. This was a very tough round for us. We really thought that we had the draw there, but one of our games went a little poorly, and they earned their win, and they did a great job. So we're really proud of them. So New Zealand was another one of those teams that was a severe underdog this year, and they just overperformed like crazy. So had we won one of these games, then we would have, or had we just drawn this match, then I believe we would have been top 12. As it is, I think our final result, we were number 16. I'll check for sure. I don't remember exactly, so I don't want to tell you guys wrong. All right, so let's take a look at what these matchups were. So we had our Eldar, and they went 14-6 into New Zealand's Custodes. Cool. The Thousand Suns went 5-14 into their Necrons. Ouch. But they had some really damn good players, man. These New Zealanders were no freaking joke. These people knew how to play. Necrons went 10-10 into their Chaos Space Marine. Deathwatch went 10-10 into their Deathwatch. So our Deathwatch player was really nervous for this matchup because that was Dave Gaylord, who's I think he won the ITC last year. And so Gorm was exceptionally proud of himself, as well he should have been, for taking that to a draw. So that was a really, really cool match for them. Then our GSC got 0 points into their Eldar. There were some problems here where secondaries weren't tallied, and that was on us. So it certainly was not on New Zealand, but it was unfortunate. But it is what it was. So then we go on into the Custodes matchup. Now, I played against Imperial Knights again. I hate the Imperial Knights matchup. And I have more to say about this particular game than I do any other game I played the entire WTC. So I don't understand why people generally rate Custodes well into Imperial Knights. From my experience, Imperial Knights just beast mode the Custodes. I think I've only ever won one match against Imperial Knights, and I've played probably 18 of them. And it is entirely possible that this is simply because I personally do not play the matchup very well. And so this could 100% be player skill issue. I'm just trying to figure it out. But anyway, so the way this matchup went is I actually raged. I tilted and I had to leave the gaming hall. It had nothing to do with my opponent. This was a example of a time when your playstyle, you do everything correct and the dice actually just screw you, which I find to be very, very rare. I think this is probably the second time, maybe the third time in my history of Warhammer where I can honestly blame the dice for a game. This game, round 1 started, and I was very. Right, let me start over. Sorry. There was one map out of the 8 maps that we could have played on that I would have actually just beat the Imperial Knights. So I was praying for that. But of course, they were intelligent opponents, and they did the correct thing, and they chose that map for a different matchup. So I had to play on the second best map, which was not good. It was better than the other 6, but it was not a good map for us. So what happened is he actually ended up going first, which was really, really good for me. Because that means he couldn't shoot, because I was basically perfectly hidden, so he couldn't shoot me off the board. His list consisted of Canis Rex, who is a total nightmare, a Crusader, and a Knight Atropus, and then he had 3 Armigers. Against other armies, I can see how this would struggle because they don't have board presence, but against me, where I really only have 6 units also, it's quite good. So he went first, and he actually strat reserved Canis Rex, and he deep strike the Knight Atropus because it had the upgrade to allow it to deep strike. What I did is I deep struck Trajan Valoris' unit, and I started my 5-man Terminator blob on the board. So he went turn 1. He went first. He got like an air denial, something like that. And then in my turn 1, I got Drew Bring It Down, which really sucked. I did not want that turn 1, but I had to go for it. So I advanced my Blade Champ squad into the middle of the battlefield, and they chewed through an Armiger there to deny him some primary. And then what I did is I actually was able to redeploy, since I went second, my big 5-man brick of Terminators, and I put them into his deployment zone. And this was 100% the correct decision, even though it also kind of hurt to do it. I made a 11-inch charge to be able to tag his Knight Crusader and a little Knight Armiger. I should have only gone into the Crusader, but that's neither here or there. That's not what made the game frustrating. So they whiffed. They should have had 32 attacks, hitting on 2s, exploding on 6s with full rerolls to wound. I should have killed the Knight Crusader, but I didn't. They only dealt like 8 damage, so that was a big whiff. But they were at least in a good position to screw my opponent up, which was very, very nice. In turn 2, this is where everything went wrong. Canis Rex came up on the table, and he dealt 8 wounds to my Blade Champion squad. I then proceeded to fail 8 saves, and I even spent a CP reroll and failed that save again. So I rolled 9 dice in a row, and 8 Custodians died from it, which was absolutely a nightmare. It was 405 points of Custodians who just got deleted. That actually hurt, especially when I knew that this was a very close matchup, and I was like, okay, I have to be able to get 5 points, which is what I projected. So that hurt a lot. And then his Crusader shot, and his Crusader ended up killing 3 or 4 Terminators in melee while they were -1 damage. And that really hurt. Like a lot. And I also had a CP reroll there because the Terminator Captain allows you... No, I did not have a CP reroll there. Because they used the free strat to be -1 damage. So that was another like 200 plus points that was just deleted because of just terrible saves. And then the Knight Atropus shot. And he actually didn't do very good with his shooting. I think he only killed 1 Custodian from Trajan's unit. But that was brutal. So out of 17 saves I had to make that turn, I passed 2 of them. And that really, really hurt a lot. And I tilted. My opponent was awesome. He was freaking amazing. I really love you, Alex. Thank you so much for being such a great opponent. He actually went and ran and got me chocolate, and he brought me like this New Zealand soda. Super sweet guy. But I looked at him and I said, hey, I love and appreciate you. You're doing great. I need some time. So what I did is I put the clock on myself, and I just walked outside for about 10 minutes. I had to get some air. I had to touch some grass. This was at the end of the weekend. It was a really long weekend. People were starting to get emotional. You were absolutely exhausted. There was no sleep. You had been standing and sweating for 4 days. So I just had to go outside, and I touched some grass. I took a few deep breaths, and then I went back inside, and I proceeded to play the single best game of Warhammer I've ever played in my entire freaking life. I've never played that well. I will almost never say this, but I was exceptionally proud of myself and the way I turned that game around, because I turned it around from a certain 0-20 because I lost 1,000 points in that turn 2, and I took it to a 10-10 draw. And actually, I even had the edge. So I think the final score was me at 78 to him at 76. So I took it to a draw with me favored. And it was a absolutely incredible game. Basically, what happened is I was able to get my Blade Champ into a Baby Knight and the Crusader. He killed both of them. This was right after he had killed all of my Terminators. And then I had Trajan died to Overwatch. They completely obliterated his squad. I drew Tempting Target, and I forced his Calidus Assassin to go into the middle of the board where Kyria Draxus' squad just obliterated her. Then I was able to teleport my 3-man Terminator squad back to the middle where they survived Canis Rex's Overwatch, and I ended up scoring maximum primary at the end of the game, and I took it to a freaking draw. It was stunning how I was able to do it. I am exceptionally proud of myself. I earned that freaking win, and that I earned that draw. And that was awesome. It was unfortunate that we ended up not being able to grab the draw overall, but I could not be more proud of myself for that. Once again, Alex from Team New Zealand was a complete champ. I loved playing against him. It was really nice to get to meet him. He was exceptionally gracious. He completely understood that when I was tilting, none of it was against him. I mean, I verbalized that, but he never took it personally at all. He was like, yes, sure, bro. Go outside, get your air. We'll be here when you come back. So he was just an absolutely legendary opponent. Super appreciate him. I'm going to go and edit that video in here, and then I'm going to do some closing thoughts. Stay tuned for the closing thoughts because I got some pretty spicy stuff coming up. All right, guys.
We're going to have the game in the background?
The game will be in the background eventually. All right, everybody, I'm here with Alex from Team New Zealand. This is their first time here, and they are freaking crushing it. And we're very nervous for our last matchup. It is Custodes versus the Imperial Knights.
That's all right, it's all right.
Oh, dude, I'm so nervous. Anyway, it's going to be a great match. It's take and hold, so just normal 5, 10, 15 primary. He's got 3 Giant Knights, 3 Emergers into the Custodes that you've seen all game. So let me just show you his deployment. He's got little boys. He's got the Crusader, another little boy, and then Canis Rex and the, what's this called?
The Atropos.
Say that again.
The Atropos?
Oh my God, the Atropos. They're both in Deep Strike and Strategic Reserve. So anyway, everybody, we'll see how this goes, and I'll catch up to you later. Okay, so in closing, Norway actually ended up at number 21st in the rankings out of 36. This is a huge improvement from last year where we were, I believe, number 24 out of 28. So we are very happy with the improvements there. Easily, honestly, several of our matchups would have been very, very easy for us to flip it and go even higher. But we definitely outperformed all expectations of us this year, and we're going to outperform even more expectations next year. Personally, I'm very pleased with the way I performed. I lost 1 game, I drew 2, and I won 4. So that makes me feel pretty nice going against the best players in the respective countries from around the world. So this was just a awesome experience. We had a total blast. We met some new friends. Manny Chima from Team England. He was actually a really, really sweet guy. Really appreciated chatting with him. Talked to John Lennon a good bit from Team America. Super, super cool guy. Adam Camilleri from the Art of War Down Under. That dude was a total Chad. Actually, super, super appreciated getting to connect with him. He was really, really nice guy. And we shared some really, really great experiences with everyone. So this is my team and I. We're in the airport just getting a little bit of lunch before the plane leaves to Belgium. This is us victorious. That's our team captain, our fearless leader, rocking the plasma pistol. Of course, I have the chainsword because I crump in melee. Over here, we've got my buddy, if you see right underneath where you see my talking head right now, we've actually got Mr. Ventura himself. He's from the Orc Discord. He is a happy crumpa, and he is bringing the WA. He actually brought the WA for Team Portugal at the WTC, so it was really awesome to finally get to meet him. He was super sweet. He gifted me a Team Portugal jersey, which makes me look freaking yoked. Thank you, sir. And then I gave him my Team Norway jersey. I feel bad because my jersey probably smelled horrible at the end of that weekend. But super awesome to get to meet that guy. As my wife and I, we went to go visit the cathedral on one of the days. It was if you're ever in Mechelen, Belgium, by the way, that cathedral is gorgeous. Even if you're not religious, just the architecture there was absolutely amazing. Then we've got Mr. Chris from Cyprus. He's a fan. We got to take a picture with him. Super cool. And then we just got a picture of how exhausted we were. We get big men sharing a bed because you get exhausted and you don't want to move at the end of these days. So the WTC was an absolutely amazing experience. We improved our player skill. We improved our rankings. People are going to be looking out for us next year, which is good because they should, because we'll be back even better next year.
This was an absolutely amazing experience. Hopefully we'll get to, I think I've got a special guest coming on, and we're going to go more in depth on some of the matchups later. And later today, I'm actually going to have a video posted going in detail what my WTC list, the way it actually worked. So we'll be back to our regularly scheduled tactical programming as of this week. Once again, thank you all for your attention. The Patreon is launching at the end of this month, so please be on the lookout for that. And everyone, just appreciate you all, and I hope you had a good time watching this video. And we will be back with another one before too much longer. Happy Crumpin', my Wargamers!